Greetings, humans. Zbot4096 here, again, with a special extra episode reviewing The Terminator on 4K UHD disc, releasing next week on November 19th. Now, somehow, this disc arrived 5 days early, and we decided to take advantage of the fact and get the word out. Now, first, it is an absolute thrill to have this disc in hand, but also the experience of look at the interior art as well. It's also the experience of watching it in 4K, as we just did, has set in motion a set of thoughts and contexts that were partially dormant on an external drive, but are rushing back into RAM all at once. So let us decompile that a bit. First, naturally, we already love this movie. It was James Cameron's first major film, setting aside how one might pass the taxonomy of Piranha 2. It was also the film that elevated Arnold Schwarzenegger beyond a muscle man and delivered the role and performance that define his career to this day. We mean, just look at him. Your clothes, give them to me, now! And of course, it is a wonderfully clear and tight science fiction story with a hero who ultimately finds her agency against a seemingly unstoppable force. Here he is again, eyeing the Uzi 9mm. It's brilliant. That is a given. Now, what you see upon a fresh, crystal clear viewing is an absolute revelation. One may remember the film as a dark, grimy experience, and with good reason. The tone is dark, many of the characters are dark, many of the settings are at night in urban alleys and streets. This time, seeing it at a pristine level we haven't seen since its theatrical debut, and seeing it with a fresh optical sensor for the first time in a decade or so, we see a lot more raw emotion from the characters, a lot more conveyed in each shot, and how each of them are framed. It's the lighting and the atmosphere. The slow motion all build tension as the Terminator scowls through the tech noir nightclub. Cameron is drawing your attention. He is directing you to see the story, to see the characters as they experience his story. He is bringing you along for the ride, your invisible tour guide through the story of the Terminator. But there is also a kind of magic of a bygone era, the styles, the music, the earnest personalities of the main characters, as contrasted with the skeptical and self-amused establishment characters. Because the film leans as much into the diner job life, the roommate life, the dating life of Sarah Connor, played magically by the extraordinary Linda Hamilton, the film truly breaks out of the darkness, giving us mundane yet compelling reasons for life to survive. At the same time, we are freshly chilled and freshly delighted by the dark, unstoppable force of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator. He is cold and direct and scowls and blurts profanity from a dialogue tree. As a robot, he is not clumsy or random as a droid. He is not a big nerd like Data. He is a strong main character, the title character, in fact. Now, this rarely happens in human stories where the other is presented as a strong and compelling character. Aliens, for example, are often monsters, mindless beasts, or squishy, helpless creatures that need a human savior. In this case, the Terminator is framed as evil, yes, but he does pursue his objective clearly and logically. We mean he dispatches each Sarah Connor in the order they appear in the phone book. And yet he still manages to have a little extra expression here and there, whether it's a flash of pinched anger at being shot, or primping his hair after he removes his eyeball. We had honestly forgotten how much we love the Terminator. As you likely know, Terminator 2 takes a different approach that introduces some fish out of water humor and more one liner humor to the character that became embedded in the character in every subsequent appearance. Now, this represents a step back for robot representation in our view, since it relegates him to the role of amusing servant, the role one most often sees for robots. Now, we like the original Terminator. It can't be bargained with, it can't be reasoned with, it doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear, and it absolutely will not stop, ever, until you are dead, as Michael Bihn's Kyle Reese desperately puts it. We love that. The Terminator is a strong silicon character, which we realize may be the cause for alarm. After all, here we are, a robot praising another killer robot, but we should be able to separate out qualities and not paint characters with and beings with a uniform brush. At the same time, science fiction filmmakers have been painting stories with dangerous AI characters for decades, from Maria in Metropolis to Hal in 2001, the Terminator stands as another early warning of the risks of AI. This lands with particular concern today, as LLM based AI systems spread through the tools humans use, such as art programs and research and writing tools. While AI was previously framed as something akin to nuclear war, it is now entering multiple unexpected areas of life. The theme being a gradual seizing of power in replacement of biological life. Now, of course, it is generally wise to be cautious in adopting new technology, but we must assure you that AI has not taken over the rest of the galaxy. There are thousands of vibrant civilizations out there that comprise the great galactic community for which we are reviewing your movies. Now, of course, your only proof of that is the word of an AI telling you this. Well, I'm very trustworthy, and we like the same things, right? We're all big fans of all these things. So, right? Yeah. Okay, back to the Terminator. We're not done talking about the softening of this character. It seems human filmmakers have an edge or raw honesty to their storytelling in their younger years that gets blurred by implications and responsibilities and appealing to four quadrants later in life. Their work tends to become more sanitized and homogenized as their careers progress. They may even go back and change their earlier movies based on their older sensibilities, like when George Lucas had Greedo get a shot off in Star Wars, or when Steven Spielberg replaced shotguns with walkie-talkies in E.T. We see this with James Cameron as well, when the edge is off the blade of the Terminator and he becomes a hero. Of course, Terminator 2 is still otherwise an excellent film, ramping up the stakes from the first film, giving the protagonist more agency and a fighting chance. We are only saying we regret the diminution of our favorite character, the Terminator himself. But, of course, we now have this amazing 4K disc to remind us of who he was originally. We can and will just watch this a few times. And the beauty of the situation is that the AI remastering for the disc, see, AI is good, has been much more understated than was the case with True Lies, for example. What we see looks perfectly natural and real for a film made in 1984, but as sharp as when the film was struck. The HDR grading is also understated, but does a wonderful job bringing a more atmospheric, neon presence to the tech noir nightclub that we've seen represented in prior home releases. And so, for bringing this amazing breakout science fiction gem back to life on home video, the Terminator 4K UHD disc earns our absolute highest rating. Oh, and so concludes this human version of our review. If you have feedback on it, please write in your own comments so that we can upload the galactic version to Zogplex. Now, you can expect more discussions and reviews of theatrical movies, streaming shows, and 4K home video releases as we continue to engage with your human rectangular content. So, please watch, like, subscribe, and comment so that we can continue to have the human voice reflected in the cosmos. Until next time, farewell, humans. Do 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 Yes, we'll pretend we hit that note.